And, of course, we had all the fanfare about the budget. It all sort of comes in down the pipeline today.
The rubber hits the road. We talked yesterday, Mark, didn't we, about the rising corporation tax from 19 to 25% that's coming in with this new tax year. These are the more personal taxes and benefits. So let's have a look. We've got the state pension and universal credit. That's going up by 10.1%. You can see on the graphic. Many other benefits too. That's an attempt by the government to bring up benefits roughly in line with inflation. A very large increase, but of course in real terms it isn't really an increase. You'll see there the full state pension from Monday, that goes up from £185 15 pence to £203 85 pence a week.
Lock still in place.
That's the 10.1%. And then you've also got other bills rising like council tax, water bills, road tax, vehicle excise duty, as it's called. So this is when the budget measures kick in, but I wanted to highlight the impact on state pensions and universal benefits in particular, because I know so many people, millions of people, are affected by those things.
Yeah, and of course it is, give with one hand, take
That's
with
right.
another. But there's something that we talked about at the time of the budget called fiscal drag, and people think, what on earth are they on about?
Yeah.
Now, this is to do with your personal tax allowance, which stays put. There's no change.
That's right. It's
and
frozen.
that means, obviously, if you're earning or getting more, you're effectively being taxed more. So it's a bit of a stealth tax in a way.
So GB News viewers and listeners will have heard me often talk about fiscal drag, and we never really get time to unpack it. But then people in the newsroom say, what is it? What is it? So I'm going to try and explain it now. So just bear with me. As you can see here, everybody gets a tax allowance, a personal tax allowance. For the first £12,570 you earn, you pay no tax. But that tax allowance is being frozen until 2028. Usually it would go up with inflation. So as wages and inflation go up, the amount of tax you pay, the bit where you don't pay tax, would go up in line. But because the allowance is frozen, as your wage goes up, more and more of your wage is dragged into a tax bracket. We can see there from 12,571 to 50,270, so that's the vast majority of earners, you pay 20%. But again, those thresholds will be frozen. So if you get a pay rise, more and more of it will go to the higher rate of tax rather than the basic rate of tax. You can see the higher rate too. Those thresholds have been changed, not just frozen, but reduced. Above, from £50,000 roughly to £150,000 yesterday, you would pay 40% on that slug of your earnings. Now it's 40% from £50,000 roughly to £125,000 roughly. So again, you're paying more tax. And you pay 45% now, not above £150,000, but above £125,000. Yeah. So lots and lots of information. What does all that mean? What it all means, we can see in the next graphic. It means that the average worker on £30,000 a year, I've done some sums, that is roughly the average wage across the country. Because of the impact of these frozen tax thresholds, you won't have heard the Chancellor stand up and say the rate of tax is going up. This is called fiscal drag. Because you're dragged into higher tax brackets and your personal allowance is frozen, the average worker will pay £393 more per year just in income tax.
Yeah. And
that is big. And more people will be dragged into paying tax. 3.2 million people more will become taxpayers because their wages will go up to an extent that the personal allowance is frozen. And 2.6 million people more will be paying higher rate tax rather than just the basic rate tax.
And we were talking the other day about Nigel Lawson, the Chancellor, seen as the tax-cutting Chancellor. Of course, there's a huge political debate about what the Tory party stands for now. Is it tax-cutting, where, in fact, it is putting up taxes? And Jeremy Hunt's indicating, look, we've got to pay for all of the various problems after Ukraine. We've got to pay for all the problems after the lockdowns and so on. But, those figures are going to sit pretty unhappily with a lot of Tory backbenchers.
They'll sit pretty unhappily with a lot of Tory backbenchers. This is already, we're starting from a point, Mark, yesterday, when the tax burden, tax as a share of our economy, was already at the highest since Clement Attlee, right?
Yeah.
A 70-year high. And now this is going to push us up more. If you look briefly at the budget measures, it would seem, income tax is staying where it is, but he's hammering business a bit more. And most people say, that's probably a good thing. But actually, personal taxation is being hammered more than business taxation, in my view, but it's being done in a stealthy way. And that's why I think it's important that we take time to explain what's happening.
Yeah. Happy Easter.